God is good, and all the time. Let me start with my colleagues, the teachers, first, before I recognize my Principal Secretary, Dr. Belio Kipsang, my very good friend and Director, CEO TSC, Dr. Nancy Macharia. I can see Dr. Julius John has managed to arrive from Parliament. He takes care of KICD, and the Director General, Mugambi, who is also a senior person at KICD. My colleagues, the directors who have been introduced, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I started with teachers because I am a teacher by profession, and anybody who thinks otherwise should go and redefine that term. I've taught for 41 years. Perhaps in this room, how many of you have taught for 41 years continuously? To the extent that even now as Cabinet Secretary, I have scheduled lectures that I shall give at the School of Medicine of the University of Nairobi, and how proud I am to be one of you. Before I read my prepared speech, which I have prepared meticulously, let me reassure the nation of Kenya that I am absolutely normal and awake at this time when I'm saying this. That the CBC train has already left the station. It left the station in January, and in my life, I never have a reverse gear. So we are going to move with it. Are we together? That message should be taken very, very clearly, because since my glass is never half empty, my glass is always half full. If you have ideas to give us that are rational and reasonable, we shall take them and incorporate them. But for people with glasses that are half empty, if you have made half of the journey and you are going back to the beginning, you will have spent the same time and actually gotten nothing. So you would have actually been better going forward to find what you are going to get where you are going. My dear ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure indeed this morning to be here to launch training of our dear teachers with regards to the competency-based curriculum. First, on behalf of the government of Kenya, I wish to thank the teams that in one way or another have led to the fruition of this, and I hasten to identify the erstwhile Dr. Nancy Macharia, who is the TSC CEO, who has given all that she has to the success of this function. I want to also emphasize the fact that this program was launched in January for the pre-primary 1 and 2, primary 1, 2, and 3. And you see, I'm a surgeon, and there are advantages of being a surgeon. Because a surgeon thinks in one track, which means you identify, you make the diagnosis. Once you have made the diagnosis, you go and cure the problem and come out. Are we together? So the launch was already done. What we are doing now with regard to training the teachers is to ensure that the process continues smoothly. So we are not going to waste time talking about issues that are not important to the core strategy and tactics which will lead us to the operationalization of this program. I also wish to again thank Dr. Nancy Macharia for availing 91,000 odd teachers. I've also been in touch with the ground, and I want to thank God first, because as you are all aware, each of you is related to a child. Is there any of you who is not related to a child? If you are related to a child, you will always want the very best for your child. So you are not coming here because you just want to serve the government. You are coming here because you want to serve your own child. I have been to the ground because I don't believe in reports. And what I have seen in the ground without notice is that we have some of the very best teachers in this country. And the way they are teaching, the way they teach and the way they engage with their children, from the pre-primary 1 and 2 to primary 1, 2, and 3, you can take it to the bank that there is something going on. You can either decide to see it or close your eyes. But I want to tell you that I've been convinced that this is the right way to go. And I want to extend my recognition to Dr. Julius John, with whom I've worked at NEC for 3 years, Dr. Mercy Karogo, and of course my Principal Secretary, Dr. Belio Kipsang, with whom together I believe they have tried to tie all the bolts and nuts that regards the operationalization of this process. And this is going to continue. It is going to continue because when you are a scholar, you have an open book mind. You want to be challenged, you want to be corrected, and I want to say once again that if you have somebody who agrees with you all the time, then you are either both fools or one is a liar. So it is very good to continue to identify the problems and we continue to address them like we are doing so. From the high numbers that the TSC CEO has mentioned, it's very clear that the government of this republic is fully committed to ensuring that the competency-based curriculum shall be seen to the end. I want to say that I don't need to add anything, but the people assembled here, both, I would have been happy if it was a round table, because we are all teachers anyway. But since the arrangement is like this, the people assembled in this room are some of the best brains that we can have. If we stay committed to the goal, and our goal must be one. And I want to emphasize one thing once again, perhaps for the upteenth time, that the government of this republic is one government. It is one government. And we, the appendages of government, must and shall work as one. And we deliver as one. There is no such thing in our vocabulary as a private child and a public child. What we have is the Kenyan child. And therefore the standards must actually be exactly the same. And I want to be grateful that we have had good contributions and engagement with the private sector, so that the public is aware that the government of this republic is engaged in a holistic training of all the teachers. I want to give you an example why this curriculum is the best thing that could happen in this country. If I was being trained to be a carpenter, and I happen to be a very good master carpenter, but I don't know English, and I get D in English, but I get distinction in carpentry, which is what I require, I will still fail. But with this curriculum, I will graduate as a master carpenter, and I will not only get a job, but I will also not be ashamed to have said, oh, this one has failed, and so on and so forth. And to let you know that the curriculum we are continuing to train you on is being practiced in many parts of the world as we speak. Perhaps the greatest giant practicing it is India and China and Canada. And if I want to come closer to, and even Malaysia, which is a very huge Muslim country, and if you are to come back home, you may find that this curriculum might be called a different name. But the South Africans are with it. And when you get closer to home, Rwanda is practicing this curriculum. And I keep asking myself, even in my field, and not that I'm disparaging them, but even in my field of urology, they have always been behind. So something went wrong and we slept. So now that we have woken up, can we run together without prejudice and without fear or favor? I've always believed, my colleagues, that it is only what you can measure that you can actually successfully do. And that's again the reason why we want to keep impacting on you the skills we need to deal with the problem at hand. If you are unable to plan your work and say, this is what I want to achieve by this time, like Nancy Macharia has outlined to you, we have planned to train now, we shall train in August, and if there is any problem, we shall have been left with some time for any emergencies. Then we can tell the leaders of the country that I think we are ready to roll by September. I know that Kenya is my country, but one of the cultures I would pray that we change is trying to do everything with the last minute to go. You wait until now when it is about November, December, then you start thinking, oh, how are we going to train the teachers? No. By September, we want to assure our parents, it is not even the president we are assuring. I want to be able to assure you and the other Kenyan parents that we are going to standard 4 and deterred. I want to be able to assure you that by the end of the year, we shall have reached even up to level 9, and we are prepared to move on from there. And this is the mandate that I have got. And I want to say this. When I decide to do something, I shall do it with all the energy that I have if I believe it is the right thing to do. So let us stop wasting time and concentrate on the goal. Let us keep our eyes on the goal, and the goal is CBC. Are we together? I just want to describe, for those who are not aware, that this curriculum will focus less on content and more on acquisition of competencies that can help you to do something for yourself. The youth bulge in this country has a very big problem because we are training people who are going to look for jobs. This competency-based program will train people who can create jobs for themselves and employ other people. And it will be a balance between the formative and summative assessment. And rather than emphasizing on schooling, or where do you go to school? I go to Kenya High. This one is going to emphasize on the learning. And I can assure you that it doesn't matter which school you go to. Because I went into a school in the bush in Masi, many kilometers inside. And what I saw emboldened me to ensure that since I don't believe in what people say, and you can take it to the bank, I still have eyes. I believe in what I have seen with my God-given eyes, and I thank God I still have eyes. So what I saw in that school means that there is a Kenyan teacher who is not recognized, who is doing so much work, who engages children 100%. And what took my attention, every child in the class had his hand up, his or her hand up, except one. And that elegant teacher, I will look for her and give the name to Nancy Macharia. That teacher empowered the one whose hand was not up. Are you following what I'm saying? And that one also knew the answer. But I was touched because if the person didn't know the answer, then she should have brought him or her up to the others. Now that is what is happening with every child having a book to him or herself. So it's going to take you quite a bit to convince me otherwise. And in senior secondary schools, you will have several pathways. But if you are a musician, like I almost did, I was a musician, maybe I would have gone to the pathway of fine art, music, and performing arts. You get the point? Now, because that pathway was not there, I did the second best, which was STEM. But still, it tells you that it's going to empower the children to make better decisions for their future, and they will have to contribute to the society much earlier than is expected. And I want to say this as I talk about this curriculum. A job is a job. The craze of going to university has to at one stage got to stop. Because you don't need to go to a university to be a very good messenger. But that's what we are doing now. You don't need to go to university to be a good carpenter. So we have reached a stage where if we don't stop and think, we are churning degrees which are valueless. Do you get the point? It would have been far much better for us, and the jukumu is ours, especially the teacher. The teacher is the first one, because I think I picked a lot from my primary and secondary school teachers. The teachers must lead by example, because the children are going to copy what you are doing. So when you engage them on one-to-one, the way I'm seeing in the villages, in the classroom, with this curriculum, then we are transforming the country. There's no going back. And if you hear anybody saying you want to go back, I don't know what you should do to that person. Are we together? And even those of us who will soon be having maybe grandchildren by the grace of God, if my child is an office cleaner, and through that office cleaning he's able to look after his wife and children, so be it. Every job is a job. That's why people keep saying, but when I see us, why are you here? Your place is upstairs. Who has told you I can do any job, including cleaning the toilets? So this mindset change has to come from you. So, and when you do this curriculum in the house, because it engages the parents also in the earlier stages, you have the capacity to link with your child in a very uncompromising manner. Let your child make his or her bed. Let your child clean his or her clothes, for heaven's sake. Oh, mommy, have you... No, wait. Kamau will come and do it. You want to empower the child to start doing things on his own, in case you go to be with the Lord before the time. So that when he goes to school and he's dovetailing into the curriculum, it works. Are we together? Let me just emphasize one or two things about the implementation plan. We have a very clear implementation plan, and that implementation plan doesn't belong to government. It belongs to us. After all, who is the government? It is us. I am proud to say I'm government. Only, unfortunately, I'm on this side. But even when I was on the other side, when I was the chairman of the academic department of surgery, I had my full flag, the flag of my country, at the back. Are we together? Because I was satisfied with what I had, and I didn't need anything else. So as teachers, you should be very satisfied and proud of yourself that through your hands, you are going to create many more important people, including people who lead this country before. That's what you should do. And I think you're already doing it. Except that we are going to ask a little bit more, in that you will have to be moving with the child step by step. And that if there are challenges of numbers, the government is alive, it's not dead. We are going to deal with it, isn't it? In as fair as we can. And that from where I sit, by September, we should be ready to roll to the 4th class, which means we shall have done everything ready. With 3 or 4 months to go, in the event that there are any stitches or hitches, we can address them. That is the plan. It's good to plan your life. Why? And I want to urge my colleague teachers to also plan their lives and the way they work. It is good to plan, because time is the only thing you can't save, by the way. By the time I was coming here, I'd already had 3 meetings. Do I look dead to you? No. It's good to plan your life so that it makes your work easier. When you plan your life, you do more with less time, and you can either use the other time to rest or to pray. Especially prayer is very good. Or do something else. So it is good for us to plan. I'm glad, ladies and gentlemen, that we are training teachers who are, I think, maybe up to half of them who are going to teach Standard 4. And to say that this training, ladies and gentlemen, will be followed by rigorous ICT support for teachers. The online training approach will be flexible to allow teachers to learn at their own time and support from the online tutors. The training will focus on capacity development in the CBC. And what I'm trying to say is that futuristically, we want to strengthen the ICT component of continuous training. The government will ensure, under my leadership, you guys know that I don't take nonsense. So I want to give you my word that whatever money we get for a particular outcome, I will also be there. I will not be checking on reports. I will be there to find out if teachers are being trained. Like now, I want to tell you that, and my brothers from the press, don't be disappointed, I operate best as a submarine. So occasionally when I want to address you, I will tell you where I'm going. But I would rather just go and appear somewhere and sit at the back and listen, because I am a learner also. Do you get the point? That's the way I'm going to operate. So I am also going to move by road. And it is not that I have to be there, but I think that is the best thing to do. If you have a job to do, ensure that it has been done. And I'm empowering you beyond here when you go back to your schools and you are teaching the other teachers. Please, with all humility, ensure that they are doing what they are supposed to do, isn't it? And if we multiply that, we are serving the child. You will find the synergistic effect of what you have done. Because I remember during my time, I won't tell you because I'm only 30 years, during my time, before you move from one class to another, the teacher had to make sure you can read. Are you listening? I don't know where we lost it. This thing is like it used to be there before. Before you go to this class, you go one by one. You go to the exam and you are given the book. And the teacher must make sure that you can read. It was in vernacular, but that was what it was, nearer what we are doing now. So we are not reinventing the wheel. I have made it very clear to my brother, Dr. Julius Juan, that KICD must be ready with curriculum designs. I will not put pressure on him in public, but he knows. As he's developing them, I've already asked for an office at KICD. As a servant of the child of Kenya, I've already asked for an office at KICD. I shall make sure, and I want to give you my word, that at the end of this year, we should be having very good news to tell you. That news might be given by somebody else who is not myself, but we shall ensure that the public is calm and we are telling them the truth as to what is on the ground. And Dr. Juan, since he has not contradicted, but perhaps the most important thing, people are saying we have no legal framework. The government spent money a few weeks ago on the session of paper. And that session of paper is currently with Parliament. And I want to assure you that unless something very untoward comes from somewhere, that session of paper should be ready by the end of June. Again, it is because you have to organize yourselves and move with fixed targets which you can measure. Again, when you hear people making noise about a non-legal framework, don't bother about those people. The session of paper is with Parliament. I don't know whether Dr. Bello Kipsang will help me to lobby Parliament, because I don't know how to lobby Parliament. But I can assure you that by June, we are hoping, by God's grace, that session of paper will be there. I want to end by just summarizing the purpose for this training. And the first one is to prepare education officers, curriculum implementers, who are the teachers who are seated here, supervisors and evaluators, for the effective implementation of the competency-based curriculum. The second point is to equip teachers with the necessary skills to implement the curriculum. The third one is to equip quality assurance and standards officers and other education officers with the skills to supervise and support effective implementation of the competency-based curriculum. And finally, to provide a common understanding of concepts of CBC and to equip teachers to facilitate differentiated learning to ensure that all learners are wholly engaged in learning. The training will focus on the basic education framework, special needs education, interpretation of the curriculum designs, preparation and use of professional documents, integration of ICT use in curriculum implementation, and competency-based assessment, which will be championed by Dr. Mercy Karogo at NEC. Ladies and gentlemen, in order not to bore you too much, I just want to end by saying that when you have a group of people who are thinking differently, the energy is dispersed away. When you have a team, which is what we have here this morning, and you can say that I am first among equals, and every member of this team, including the weakest one, is as important as the team leader. Then you synergize and you multiply by the numbers. Are we together? That is what we must do to shame the devil. And to put you to rest by saying, I've been around for quite a while. I strongly believe in God. I have never failed in anything that I have taken. And I don't believe it is because I'm George, son of Magoha. It must be because of the Almighty. And since it is that same Almighty that brought me here, you must take it to the bank that God cannot give you a task that you cannot accomplish. So I shall, together with Nancy Macharia, and all of you, accomplish together. May I now take this opportunity. Nancy, come along, let's launch this thing together. Because this is very important. Because you are the big boss. We now take this opportunity to launch this nationwide training, and we wish you a successful 4 days exercise. Thank you very much, and God bless. Thank you.
You can take